This is the J-Pit Show.
What can homeowners do? Let's say let's just say hypothetically, like there is ice and sleet coming with this, and it's going to be freezing cold. You could lose power.
Okay.
What do you think homeowners
This is a great
should
conversation to have. And yes, I can provide a lot of information. Let's start with like least to like most urgent based on circumstance. If you have power, you don't lose power, you have heat, my advice would be, and this is going to sound crazy, turn your thermostat down. If you have, especially an electric system, electric heating systems are not built to withstand 30, 40 degree temperature differentials between the outside. Well, I'd say 40 to 45. 30 is fine. I misspoke there. But let's say if you're trying to heat your house to 68, okay, or 70, once it gets below freezing about 30, it starts kicking into auxiliary heat, and the system is working constantly trying to catch up, and it really never gets there. And especially if your unit is old, on the older side, you don't want it to give out, okay? So you want to drop it down to where it can catch up and get a break. So if it is 15 degrees outside, you don't want it higher than about 65. That's a 50 degree differential, and that's really tough. It gets really, really hard in the teens. I know you don't want to be uncomfortable, so you're not going to drop below 65, but just please, listen to me when I say you don't want to overwork your HVAC units. If you have gas, it can withstand a slightly bigger differential. Now your bill's going to be high because it's going to be running constantly. But I would still turn it down a few degrees. Also, if it gets down into the like single digits,
which it's supposed to,
which it can and will probably, I would recommend, even in a heated home, to open your cabinets, okay, where you have water sources. So your vanities in your bathrooms, okay, leave your toilet lids open, okay. I don't think you really have to take like the tops off the tanks, but like just be mindful of walls that are on the exterior of the home that may or may not have plumbing. They're not supposed to have plumbing, supply side plumbing on exterior walls because the temperatures inside those walls get very cold. But let's say you have a wall that that shares with a garage, the temperature gets substantially lower in the garage than it does in the house. Not as cold as outside, but when it gets into like single digits, you may have freezing temperatures in your garage and your pipes may freeze and could potentially bust. You want to keep as much heat that is available in the home statically, just available to keep those pipes warm. So keep those things mindful. I have in my my primary bath, my master primary bath, I have a commode, a toilet, in a closet. That's an old school.
Such a funny.
It's an old word. A loo. I have a WC. No, I have it. Like has its own little, like closet room for just the toilet, and it is directly next to a cantilever. Okay, so I have a garden tub, right, and to the right of the garden tub sits kind of on a cantilever, or just next to a cantilever. Immediately to the right of that is a toilet room. If I leave the door closed to that toilet room when the temperatures are in the single digits, the toilet will just stop working. Now it's plumbed with PEX, so it's not going to bust. Okay, if you have copper, it can bust. Okay, I'm providing you with a lot of information that some homeowners may not know. New agents may not even know. Okay, but understanding what type of plumbing you have is important. That cantilever, okay, I have access to the underside of that cantilever from my basement. So what I do when it gets single digits, I go down to the unfinished room of the basement that is directly below that cantilever and that garden tub, and I open the door to the basement, allowing static air to flow from the heated space into that unheated space to warm it up from below. And I leave the door open to the water closet, the toilet room, to allow the room to heat up like the rest of it. And I never lose the function of those two things. If I had copper, I'd be really worried about it because whether you use them or not, it could bust. So keep basic heat to everywhere in your house that has plumbing.
Yep.
Okay.
Are you a believer in
Dripping
faucets
faucets?
dripping?
No, I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like it because if it can bust anyway, and if it busts anyway with the faucet dripping, there's a much larger mess to be had. Now, if you lose power and you have to leave your home, let's talk about this, okay? Because this is a big, big deal. I want you to follow these very simple steps. I want you to find your main water shutoff, okay? I want you to go and turn it off. I want you to then go to the very top level of your house, the very highest plumbing fixture you have. Okay. And I want you to turn it on. If it's all on the second floor, I want you to turn on every shower and every faucet. And I want you to let all the water run out of the pipes that will. Okay. With the water off. So you just turn them on. You will see water over time. The stream will gradually get more and more faint until the point where it is not on at all. I then want you to flush the toilet as many times as it will flush, and it will not fill because the water is off. Okay. And then work your way from the top level to the very bottom, doing that at every plumbing fixture. What you're doing is bleeding the lines of all the pressure that they have to where there is nothing but air and a little bit of water that won't drain out, but it's probably not enough to fill the pipes to freeze, expand, and bust. Okay, and I want you to leave all those fixtures completely open so air can freely pass from heated space throughout the pipes. Okay, now just remember, you have to go around and turn them all off before you turn the main water shutoff back on. So you leave your house for a couple of days because you have no power and you're staying with friends or family while the temperatures are really low. You want pipes dry as they can get, valves open, main water shutoff off.
Yep.
And that exact order is very important. Now, why do you go to the top level of the house? Well, here's what's going to happen if you don't. If you open the first floor before you open the second floor, then it's going to draw pressure from the middle or from the bottom. Okay? And what you're going to end up is you're going to end up with T's and unions that have sitting water in them that wasn't able to come out with gravity once you finish up. So start at the top, work your way to the bottom. That's very important. You want to take the pressure out from the very top first. Here's another thing. If you haven't already, go right now and turn off your outside spigots. And after you do that, open them up and let them drain. Okay, you don't want outside spigots. Most of them are frost-proof these days, unless they're really old. So they won't freeze and bust, but they won't freeze and bust and cause a flood. Okay, but they will freeze and bust and be not functional next spring.
Yeah.
So, good idea.
Another, I think a good question is, say you're an agent right now with a client buying a house that's vacant and it's set to close in 2 weeks, and you have all this coming in, super cold weather, say people do lose power. Yeah. What steps should those agents take before closing to make sure their clients aren't buying a house
with busted
that did have pipes that busted or will bust as soon as they move in?
You need to be doing a walkthrough and testing those things in just kind of the manner I just talked about to bleed the lines. You need to be testing all of that. I mean, look, if you haven't bought the house yet, you're not in control. You need to be talking to the listing agent, back channeling with the seller, making it clear that your expectation is that the heat be on.
Yeah.
Here's one other thing, going back to the heat. Right now, today, when the house is, when it's fairly warm outside, comparably speaking, and throughout the weekend, turn the temperature up in the house. Raise the temperature in the house to a warmer temperature so that your baseline, is higher. Mm-hmm. And then the system doesn't have to work quite as hard over the next several days to maintain temperature because the temperature's already up. Another thing, pay attention to weather stripping. Fold the towel at the base and put it at the base of an exterior door. If you still feel a draft, slide a little bit of the towel underneath the door and then close it to kind of hold that seal if you've got bad weather stripping or seals. Look at things like your dryer vent, which can have, place for cold air to come in. Now, I don't recommend you trying to insulate a dryer vent permanently because that can cause fires. But like when you're not using it, if you drape a towel over when you're not using the dryer, it's going to try to keep temperature in, keep cold air out and warm air in. Keep the door to your dryer closed. Believe it or not, like that cold air is coming through that dryer vent when it's not in use into the cavity inside your dryer. And if you leave the dryer door open, it's just walking its way into your house.
Yeah, I think it's an odd thing to leave your dryer door open anyways.
I know. I'm just saying a little bit goes a long way.
Let me ask you, so, we were talking about buyer agents with clients buying a house 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Going in there and testing everything. Do they hold any sort of accountability or reliability if they go in there and test and a pipe bursts?
If they test and a pipe bursts because they test?
Just because, they're turning the water on. And
I mean, if the water's off,
the water's on, but they're turning faucets on.
I mean, no, because the risk of a pipe bursting is the exact same whether the faucet has been used or not. So, I mean, that's the way pipes work. Like the reason you get water, as soon as you turn your faucet on and it doesn't like blow air for a couple of seconds before the water comes out, is because the lines are pressurized.
Yeah.
And that's what you're worried about, right? The lines are pressurized. And what happens is when that water that is pressurized in the line expands because it's freezing, Ryan, it breaks the pipes. So like, yeah, unless you're de-winterizing a property, I don't think you hold any liability. Now, if they have their water turned off and you turn it on and then it damages something, yeah, I think there's some liability potentially there. But it depends on how you do it. I think agents should ask for the water to be on for their inspection or for their walkthrough inspection. They should ask for the heat to be on for their walkthrough inspection. I don't think you can do an adequate walkthrough inspection without those two things. Yeah. Like if you went to a walkthrough and the water was off, wouldn't you be a little skeptical? So I mean, I think it's perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be skeptical in a normal sense. With what's coming in, I would probably understand why the water was off. I would just make sure to reach out to the listing agent and talk about
it. Like, hey, what are we doing? Yeah. Like we need to test this. Or certainly given the circumstances.
Right. Yep.